Hello everyone, welcome back. It is a Makeup Monday. Listen, today we're going to talk about something that can frustrate me sometimes and I can find a little bit difficult to watch, and that's nose contouring. Sorry, I'm making a lot of noise here. Contouring your nose, let's start with this, right? Contouring your nose isn't a necessity. You don't always have to contour your nose. And actually, sometimes it's better when you don't. Let's just get into it. For those who don't know, a Makeup Monday is where I dedicate a Monday to a more tutorial aspect type of makeup, because I know a lot of people like videos. I know a lot of people aren't bothered about my tutorials. So Mondays are going to be the place to watch them. We're not just going to do some basic nose contouring tutorial today. It's not as easy as just wrapping a loop around your nose and be like, my nose is contoured. You know what I mean? So let's get into it. Let's talk about who needs to contour their nose. Well, one, nobody needs to do anything in makeup. The reasons you may want to contour your nose is to make it look slimmer, to make it look bigger. You can contour something bigger, to have it in line with the rest of your face. If you've contoured your whole face and this whole section here is maybe just bright, you may want to even it out by contouring slightly. However, what we see online a lot with just contouring the nose by doing two lines down the side of the face isn't the best way to do it. Not everyone's nose shape is the same, because we're all different. We all have different face shapes, different noses. You can do whatever you want with your makeup, but I would strongly advise against a certain person contouring their nose. And that is if your nose is very small in comparison to the rest of your face. The way people contour their nose to shrink it, if your nose is already quite small compared to the rest of your face, and you contour your nose, it can look a little bit strange. I brought this up in a reaction video I did to Kylie Jenner, where she contoured her nose, and her nose is actually already very, very small in comparison to her face, and it just looked a little bit strange, and it sets everything off balance. So if your nose is quite small, don't contour your whole nose. If you have a bridge that's quite low down and you want to contour the bridge, absolutely do that, but make sure you even that out by brightening the whole way down. I'm going to use my nose as an example, but please look at your nose in the mirror, right, with me right now. And look at your nose, looking up and looking down. When you look up, what's going to happen is that light is going to pick up your nose differently. So when I look here, I can see my nose looks slightly different to when I look down like this. When I look down like this, my nose looks contoured because it shadows the face. I always say if you want to know a very basic way to contour on your whole face, you just look down and see where shadows sit. So you can see where shadows sit on my face here, but you can also see where the light still is. I still have light on my nostril here, for example, and the shadow sits all around here. That's because on my nose, when I look up, my nose is slim here. My nose is slim in that bit, so that's why my nostrils are still bright. But my nose sticks out, or the bone comes out on the edge of the nose here. So if you think about contour, what contour does is it deepens, so it pushes something back in perspective versus something light. So if I want to contour my nose, we're going to contour the areas that stick out more to push them back, or stick out more to push them back. And then we can brighten some areas that give it some comparison. Now, if I'm to contour just the whole way around my nose, all you're doing is making everything level again, because when you're in different lightings, the shadow is going to be equal everywhere, right? Whereas what we want to do is create unequal shadows. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. What I want to do is, when you look at my nose, I want it to look shadowier here, I want it to look lighter here. So I need to do that with my makeup. If I just do a loop of the same product all the way around here, you're just going to get the same shadows as you did before, you just have a different color on. It's like if I was to paint my nose a darker shade to the rest of my skin, you're still going to get the same depth and light, right? So we need comparison is my point. I'm going to use the Blendbuuny Cosmetics Forget Me Not palette. Again, all the products I use, I'm only showing you so you can find something similar, or if you are interested, you can buy that product. The reason I love this is because it's all matte and there's so many different shades within this palette to contour and highlight that I just find it the best. And what you're looking for are these grays almost for my skin tone. For the deeper skin tone, you're looking for these really deep shades that still have warmth to it, because you don't want it to go ashy. It still has this warmth to it. And then we have options for a matte highlight or a shimmer highlight. If you are extremely, extremely fair in your skin tone, I want you to look at shades. I'll put some shades up on the screen that are like pinky grays. You might look at them and think, how would that be a contour? Actually, I have a palette right here. And it's gonna be in your eyeshadow palettes. It's gonna be shades like this, where it's like, that's purple gray, that's pink gray. But when it's on your really fair skin tone, a little bit lighter than that, when it's on a really fair skin tone, it looks like contour, it looks like shadow. Now on a deeper skin tone, you do want to go to these deeper browns like this. One shade that I really like to contour with on a deeper skin tone is Embark from MAC, their eyeshadow. If you have a deeper skin tone, let me show you these two. And I'll rub them out completely. They look like they're verging on pure black, but actually when you blend it out, it still has a bit of warmth to it. Now, yes, contour compared to skin tone, which won't ever be pitch black or won't ever be pure just white. What was I saying? Contour in comparison, we're mimicking shadow, which is literally grayness. It's the lack of light, right? So that can be, in this case, a pure white. If we're highlighting, it can be a pure black as well. However, it is still nice on a deeper skin tone to have that warmth. You can see it's almost like a black red, right? There are other parts of your face to bear in mind when you're contouring your nose, right? Eyebrows. How far in do they come, or how far out are they? Top lip in comparison to the bottom of the nose. If you contour the bottom of your nose and your lip is actually quite high and it touches or verges on touching the bottom of your lip, do you want to contour the bottom of your nose? Because it can look like you have a continuous nose into lip, and it's nice to have that separation. So do bear those things in mind. Okay, let's get into contouring my nose, and I want to show you a few different things throughout that of course you can implement into your own contour from looking and studying your nose shape. So I'm actually going to go quite obvious in this contour again so you can see, but I am going to go for like a grey brown. So I'm going to think about my nose. It's dipped in here, right? This whole area dips in here. So if we're really looking at my nose, you might be used to my nose, but if somebody brand new is looking at my nose, it can appear quite beaky. And listen, I'm not insulting my own nose. I like my nose. I'm just being realistic. It can look quite beaky. It can look like this. So if we're looking at a beaky nose like that, it dips in here. So I'm covering the mic, so it dips in here. So can you see how it's already darker in those areas? If I block out the light, can you see it's already darker in this area? So we don't need to darken this area because it's pushing it way in. Can you see how it's quite dark in this area? Actually dramatically darker with the shadow in comparison to this. So if we're slimming down, what we want to do is push this down, the area that's a little bit lighter. We want it to be this dark, but then we want this area to be lighter to bring it out. So we're almost evening those areas out. We're meeting in the middle. We're darkening to meet here. We're lightening to pull out, right? So let's start just very gently. I always use an eyeshadow blending brush, a really fluffy one. I'm right at the tip of my brush. So we're applying less pressure. My little finger's sticking out like I'm a posh person drinking tea because it applies less pressure. And I'm starting from the middle here. Again, this is quite harsh. You can only use a small amount of product. So I'm making like a line like this. And yours will hopefully be a lot less harsh like this. And then we're going to look at that shape. You see that? Can you see now how this is darker where I applied that contour, but we still have a little bit of light just there? We're going to shade that in gently. Very gently, I'm pulling color towards that area. Okay, so we've contoured the side of the nose like that. Can you see already how it's already slimmed it down quite a bit? Again, that's quite a harsh one, so let me just buff off some of this color and I can show you maybe more realistic contour. And remember, you can always just start off with a little bit of product and then build up. It's easier to add more than it is to take away. So that's probably a little bit more realistic to how much product I would use. Even a little bit less than that, to be honest with you. I'm actually just going to make this side a little bit darker just so you can see where the obvious areas. Okay, so we know we're going to lighten this bit here. But what I also want to do is add a bit of structure around the base of my nose, just to make it look like I haven't just got like a load of mess up there. So I always try to find a bit above a nostril where we have like this little indent. Can you see this little indent by the nostril? I always like to fill that bit in and wrap it around my nose. Again, let me make it really obvious for you so you can see the shaping. And wrap it under. Right to that bit here. So it's a little bit more cohesive. And I'll blend that in on our more natural side here, just so it's like this. One thing that's really great to do as you're contouring your nose is to keep checking backwards and forwards, right? So you might do your contour and think, oh, have I done too much? Don't look in the mirror for 10 seconds. and then look back and you're seeing it almost brand new, you know? Okay, so with the contour here on our nose now, a lot of people like to take it up under the brow here and wrap it into the eye makeup, which you can do if your brows sit in line with your nose, right? So if your brows sit in the right place, I'm doing quotation marks here, but some of us can't always grow them in the right place. So your eyebrows should start from the edge of your nostril there, right? Mine are in line, that's lovely. If yours grow out a little bit further and they don't quite reach that area, you can literally carry on this contour and literally make a block of color from the beginning of your brow. So from your eyebrow into that nose. Because then what you're doing here also is you're making it look as though your nose bridge actually carries on to where your forehead is. Can you see like that? And then what do we have in the middle now? We just have this really nice, long, elongated line. I'll do it on this side so you can see a bit more natural. But let me just show you as well. If your brows do come into the correct position, you'll take your nose contour up, stop under your brow, and just follow that brow under the brow bone and just gently buff it into your eye makeup. Like this, in this area. Whereas what we've done this side is carried it on up into the brow. Now, if you do it too heavy, let's just touch on this now. So I've obviously done it too heavy to show you the blocking so you can see it, definitely see it. But can you see how it also looks kind of muddy, right? So that's a few reasons. You don't want to go too heavy and you also don't want to go too light. So just really do experiment with a color. So I'm actually just going to take the light pink that's in this palette, and I'm going to show you where I would lighten. So I would lighten in this area here to even out that depth of the nose. I'll go around my nostril because my nostrils stick out. Let me do that a little bit more naturally on the other side. And remember, when you're contouring, it's meant to be light and shadow, so we don't want to see color. We just want it to appear like shadow and light. So something like that. So can you see now, ooh, let's blend that a bit. Can you see now it looks a lot more even in terms of the way it goes down? Now, lightening the bridge of the nose, a lot of people just do a line down the middle. I personally wouldn't do that on me. You can see on my nose, I'm trying to block out this lighting. I have like this ridge here that goes inwards. So on my nose, so what I would do is lighten this area here to then make it look almost like where your glasses would go, you know? Because we're bringing that forward, right? So I would lighten this area here. So any areas on your nose that dip in, you lighten. Any areas that come a bit forward, it's up to you. You can deepen them if you want. I actually quite like it when sticking forward. So I'm going to lighten the edge of my nose here with something a little bit lighter. And then I'm actually leaving this middle bit here. The reason being, a lot of the time, if you highlight this middle bit, it can look like just oil or grease, and it's actually not that great looking, you know? Okay, so it's not just our nose we want to concentrate on. We also want to concentrate on this area around the nose too. So you can see on this area, we kind of got like this bulbousy bit that sticks out. So what I would actually do in that case is bring this area forward. So let me circle this area here. So we've contoured here. This little area, that's my nose bone finishes like there. Can you see that? But this area seems to be affected by the nose. So I'm just going to take a puff with a bit of our powder. I don't know why I said puff twice. The powder I use to highlight the nose here. And again, I'm going to use a lot on this side just to show you. And I'm going to push that against the edge of that nose, but right in that area I had my finger before. And take that light down to this area here. So can you see now we've got rid of all that shadow that was happening here, and we still got that contour. So let me just do the natural side, which is still actually quite heavy, really, like this. So can you see how the light's being tricked there into lightening this whole area, making it look a little bit more smoother? So it does look a lot smoother because we're on camera, but now what we've done is diminished all that light in that area. Now I would still go over again and contour, and you might be thinking, well, what's the point in doing all that just to go over and again and contour? We want to get this line nice and slick And it's much better to do that before so you get a nice shape and then do all the light cancellation. And I'm just going to slowly buff that into the lighter shade we just did. There you go. So there's no solid lines, no harsh lines. This is our harsh side, so obviously we're going to keep it like that. No harsh or solid lines there. It's just all buffed out nicely. Even from this side, it looks nice and smooth. From the front, it looks nice and smooth. Now I'm looking at my nose and actually thinking, you know what? What would make this even more complete is by contouring my nostril to come in a little bit more like this. So how would we do that? We'll push any light from this side in this way by deepening it. So with a tiny amount, I'll do it this side so you can see first. This is where I would do it. Like that. Are you getting silly and crazy? You pretty cute. What are you doing? Oh, don't look at the lights. Come away from the light. Cutesy baby. So very gently on this side of the nose. I'm just gonna gently shade in the edge there. Very subtle. And what I'm doing, I'm going into my pan each time. I'm going into the palette and I'm actually just giving, you can see on my hand, I have little swatches. I'm just swiping away the color a little bit and then brushing onto my nose. There you go. Can you see? Now we see them a little bit more like my nostrils coming in. This is quite an intense contour, but if you blend it in nicely, look, it's hardly noticeable. You can hardly see it. Of course, this is where I'm mapping out the shape and showing you, but you can very hardly see it. That's quite nice, actually. If we were to add a shimmery highlight to this, something that's a little bit more metallic, a bit more shiny, then we can be very, very careful with a small brush that has like a very small tip. And I would just do one here, one here. See where the light naturally catches the tip of your nose. You don't want to do a round circle and fill in the whole thing. You want to pick and choose. But when you look up, look, this is where the light catches the point of my nose. And I always like to do just down one side of the nose here. Where's my harsh side? This side. Like quite a strong, I'll show you it harsh and I'll blend it on the other side. Just a little bit of a line, but only on one side of the nose. It doesn't throw it off too much. So if you're using like a shimmer shade, I like to just capture one side of a nose because I think it really, really just gives it a nice natural luminosity. Obviously not that harsh. You can do it a little bit gentle on the other side. And you can do it matte if you want to as well. Okay, so that's a little bit more of an in-depth nose contour. Take a look in the mirror. Have a play with your fingers. Look up and down into a light. If you have your phone with you, that's a great thing to do. Turn your torch on and just sit under it, right? Shine it above your face, sit under it. Where's creating shadows? Where does shadow create? And that's a great way of figuring out where you need to push in. So remember, the stuff you want to look smaller, you need to push it in with dark. The stuff you want to look brighter, you need to bring it out. Watch this video a few times over so you can watch me talk about my own nose and the shapes and whatever. So you get an idea of what you have to do to yours. I hope that made sense. Again, leave comments down below and I'll answer as many questions as I can. If you like these videos and makeup videos, please do give it a thumbs up. Let me know and I will see you in the next one. Bye.